assisting people of all abilities to live, work, and play in the community.
I'm Steve Smith, live in Lawrence, Kansas. Born in Columbia, Missouri. My father, Ira Smith, my mom, Artheta Smith. Moved to Overland Park, Kansas. From there, moved to Springfield, Illinois, to Overland Park, Kansas, to Springfield, Missouri, to Memphis, Tennessee, to Olathe, Kansas, where I graduated from high school. Well, initially I went to KU for a couple years. I joined the Army Reserve out of high school and went to college and joined the Army Paratroopers, General Planes. It was great. I loved it. Did that for 4 years, and afterwards decided to make the military a career of mine. And to be a career, I had to become an officer, so I had to have a degree. So I got out of my active duty stint and went to college at Wichita State. I graduated from Wichita State with business management and psychology. But while I was going there, I thought I wanted to fly. And I figured if I wanted to fly, I should join the Air Force. I applied for an inter-service transfer to the Air Force, was accepted, and after graduated, I left for Air Force pilot training. Then I flew for about 5 years. So I had a total of 14 years active duty, and I was at the end of my service. I was in the Air Force Reserves, working a job as an aviation underwriter, writing aviation insurance, which is great. Also, I was a commercial, military, and private flight instructor. So I had 3 jobs. Everything was going great. Well, part of the culture in flying was drinking. So I also, at the end of my flying career, got done. Of course, but we drank a lot too. So toward the end of all this going on, my thought was, all these 2 jobs I had, they were great jobs, but they got in the way of my drinking. So one day I just said, the hell with everything, and hit the road on I call it a drinkathon, for like 6, 7, 8 months. Ended up out in Las Vegas. Good place to be an alcoholic, because the bar's open 24/7, and some pretty dive places out there. Good place to be drunk. So, but after I'd done that for a little bit, tried to kill myself through drinking. That wasn't working. I finally had enough, I guess, and figured that there had to be a better way, that I needed to use more of my life than drink myself to death. So I went to rehab in Utah and did that and stayed sober for about, maybe a year, at which time I relapsed. Got a little trouble with the law, some time in jail, and sober up again. Went back to Lawrence. Stayed sober for about 4 years. I think being thrown in jail, everything going on, had been a load of bottom for me that made enough impression that I figured it'd be a better way. So through the tools I learned through my rehabilitation and my life experiences, and stayed sober for about 4 years. I worked for a guy doing remodeling at first, or painting. And after a while I thought, well, I could do this. So I started doing it myself as a contractor, started doing the painting contracting, and then started doing the light remodeling. Doing that for about 4 years, very successful. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the paradox, started making a lot of money and conveniently forgot I was an alcoholic. Figured if I could do all this, I could drink a little bit. So I drank a little bit. Next thing I know, I'm off and running. So off running, and one night I left a place in Kansas City well over the legal limit, drunk, and ran my car off the embankment. Got thrown from the car, broke my pelvis, my shoulder, a couple of ribs, and received my traumatic brain injury. I was put in a coma. So I was, at that point, I was taken to Kansas City Hospital. The doctor there recognized that I probably had a traumatic brain injury. And since the VA kind of specialized in that injury itself, they shipped me off to a place that does rehabilitation for just that injury in Minneapolis. I was there for 6-7 months. But after I left the VA, I had a couple of days respite at my mom's, and then I qualified for Medicaid, so I was sent to Benderbrook Hospital in Gardner. After about a month, I left, they call it, against medical authorization, or AMA or something. I left and went home, went to live with my girlfriend. And that lasted about probably a month or two. And as relationship was due with the TBI, I definitely wasn't the same person I was before the injury. It wasn't definite to her, it wasn't obvious to her or me. So we thought we'd just keep going, and things were different. And things didn't work out, so we parted ways. And I wouldn't see my mom. The brain injury was the major thing I had to do with. And initially I had to relearn everything. Had to walk, had to talk. I mean, I didn't talk for like 6 months. Even now, my speech isn't as articulate or eloquent as it was. Before, speaking was my forte, if I can say so myself. And now it's somewhat staccato and broken. I mean, it's pretty apparent something's not quite right with this guy. So I transitioned off the waiver, tried to get back to my life, and the reality of what my life was at the time kind of like a brick wall. I was really depressed. I contemplated suicide. Thankfully, at that time, I was seeing a psychiatrist, the VA, who I credit with saving my life. Big thing was for me the medication cocktail, I call it. After my injury, get the meds right, so we could change that, refine it. Got that working. I've been on the same meds for like 8 years. They work, so. After the 2-year rough patch, I kind of got motivated and went online and tried to find all the support groups I could, all the information I could about TBI. And I went to one here in Lawrence, and Janet Williams spoke and kind of told her story. And afterwards, I talked to her. I said, I really enjoyed what you said. I appreciated your story. And she said, you forget think about being a TLS for my company.
I hear Jerusalem bells ringing, Roman cavalry choirs are singing. Mirror, mirror, my sword and shield, my missionaries in a foreign field. For some reason I can't explain, I know St. Peter won't call my name, ever alone on this world, but that was when I ruled the world.
Well, that's all gone. So I had to remake myself, and that's been it's not a struggle. It's been a journey, I guess, and a struggle. So for myself, I wouldn't work it, so I threw myself into volunteer work, and something to do was really important. As I've heard many times, people talk about finding purpose. For me, just giving back.